So it should be recording it at the very top of it. And let me see on the group, the link. Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, so we are starting just now, guys. So I know that the guys in the group. Just starting. So let me undo everyone's microphone. So if you guys can undo your microphone, can unmute your microphone, so we avoid all sort of noises. Yeah, I think you're all just about only Celia now. So guys, again, just a quick reminder that the idea of this tasting is for us to first align the palate. Just first align the palate, and that's very, very important. So we need to be taste sort of on the same level in terms of tannins and acidity and body and texture and everything. So I recommend you to retaste this wine tomorrow, after tomorrow. You know, if you have several wines open in the fridge, if you have a few, ask someone to give you that wine blind. So you assess the wine again in terms of body, acidity, tannins. You must be able to taste the wine accurately with regards the quantity of every single element in the wine. And then try to ask yourself how this wine was made. Once you are able to answer that question, how this wine was made, was he hand harvest? Was he machine harvest? Can I taste that? Not sure. Is he high quality? Is he low quality? Is he made for aging or is not made for aging? Is he a cool climate? Is he a warm climate? Has he seen any oak? If yes, what's the quality? Is he brand new? Is he second use or third fill? If he has not seen any oak, was he only stainless steel? Maybe old oak casks, for example. So it's very important that you start asking those questions to you, because once you have a unit-free examination on still wines, there is very often you will see a question related to how the wine was made, what's the grape variety. And what I'm trying to, again, help you is to deduct the grape variety, is to taste the wine and see, well, I believe it's Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Pinot Noir, or whatever. And that's very important. Once you start asking yourself, what could it be? You've got to broaden your knowledge. And it's very often that we are unable to come up with more than 3 choices or 4 choices. And we need to have at least 10 choices within our mind. And that's very, very important. So if I was tasting this wine for the exam today, let me put a little bit more on my glass. And once I look into the wine, I'll go like, it's definitely ruby. So 45 degrees is definitely ruby. Not garnet, not purple. If it's not purple, that probably a variety that has a thick skin. It's probably a variety that makes a wine that could see some aging. Also, it doesn't seems to be a wine just for the color that has been just bottled. So it's been in a bottle for 1 or 2 years, sort of thing. That's what I think when I see a color like that. Then I start thinking on the intensity. So it's not a pale color. It's not Pinot. It's not Gamay. It's not Beaujolais. It's not a Sangiovese, for example. So it's a color. The intensity is like a medium intensity to deep color. So it seems to be a grape variety that has a thick skin. And then you start thinking, what varieties have a thick skin and could make a very deep opaque color or could make a wine like this? So if it's a thick skin variety, so you start thinking perhaps it hasn't seen much time on the juice. So perhaps the extraction wasn't that big. And as you know, the winemaking theory, if the maceration wasn't very prolonged, it's probably because the grapes were not that healthy. That could be it, or maybe the grapes were not that mature. Because if the grapes are not that good and you extract a lot, you may end up extracting a lot of greenness, green tannins, or maybe a lot of rot. So there is always a reason why they have extracted a lot, or they have not extracted a lot. There is always a reason behind it. And you've got to ask those questions in order to understand why this wine was made, how it was made, and to whom. Who is the person that is drinking, and when is this person drinking? So I start thinking, well, it's a grape variety that has a thick skin because there is a very good intensity here. That's the first thing that comes up to my mind. And once I smell it first, like this, and then by swirling the glass, I'm like, oh, gosh, it's not medium intensity, it's at least medium plus. And the first thing that comes to my mind is it's a bowl of like strawberries, cherries, plums, um, um, uh, blueberries with a mint. There's a mint here. There's definitely some eucalyptus. There's definitely some greenness in a good way, adding some complexity and refreshness to the nose. So you see some berries, some plums, some dark fruit, which is ripe, jammy, and some leafiness that comes from the mintiness, the eucalyptus, or the pyrazine. And the pyrazine is an important, very important element because some varieties, they change how the pyrazine is addressed in the wine. As we know, when we taste several Cabernet Sauvignon, the Bordeaux, the pyrazine is slightly different, or the amount of pyrazine is different when it compares to Chile, when it compares to Argentina, when it compares to Coonawarra in Australia, or when it compares to Napa Valley, for example. So I see plumminess and I see some pyrazine. That's the first thing. The second thing that comes to my mind, there's a little bit of smokiness to the wine, but I do not see any oak. There is no brand new oak to the nose. The nose is not telling me I have like 12, 24 months in brand new oak. It's a wine that is more on a fruitier side than oaky and tertiary aromas. It's definitely not tertiary. It's maybe secondary, maybe some developing. If we are on level 3, but on diploma, you don't have to tell primary, secondary, or tertiary aromas, or you don't need to tell the development of the wine. So it's telling you I'm developing. I'm on a very young side. It's a sort of a refresh young wine that maybe I'm developing. I'm going towards tertiary aromas, but I'm not there yet. I'm far away from it. But fine. If I was to say 5 aromas, because you need to say 5 aromas to make full marks, you've got to say pyrazine, which you can say eucalyptus, which you can say some green bell pepper, which you could be saying mint. Then you can say plumminess from plums, from blueberries, from cherries, from blackberries, cassis. It's a very important aroma right here. You could say, well, there's some spicy notes. You could say maybe some nutmeg, because it's not very sweet spices. But nutmeg is kind of in between. It's not black pepper at all. It's not black pepper, but there is some spice to the nose. Um, and that's very important because when you say nutmeg, we do understand that it's coming from oak, perhaps part new, part old, but you're not saying it's vanilla. You're not saying new. When you say vanilla, you're saying new oak or second use oak. And that's important because you're saying to the examiner that you believe that this wine has seen some oak, second use, third use, but not for a long time. Is a fruit focused nose. And that's very, very important because some regions are well known for producing consistently good, youthful wines, like Mauli, for example, in Chile. Well, let's keep up. Let's taste the wine. It's dry, tremendous high acidity. And so high acidity is the hallmark of some varieties. Then we think on the tannins, at least medium plus tannins. And as you try to feel the texture, it's grainy. And when we're saying grainy, you can actually feel the grains all around your mouth. It's not polished, it's not well treated, it's not polymerized. So it adds some rusticity, or it adds some, what's the word? Structure to the wine. Okay, so it's a wine that is dry, high acidity, medium plus to high tannins. Black fruit core, that's the core of the wine. Medium to full body, and it has a moderate alcohol. It's not warming. For me, it's like a 13.5%. I'm trying to see the bottle to see how wrong I am. 13.5%. Okay, it's not unbalanced. There's good fruit, and the fruit is balanced. The concentration of the fruit is balanced with the alcohol, which is fine. So maybe because it's not overripe, it's not an overripe grape, perhaps that's the reason why we see just sort of a bramble fruit. Perhaps the reason why we see the high acidity. Perhaps is the reason why we see this sort of grainy tannins. But also, Cabernet Sauvignon, it has a grainy tannin, has a high acidity. So all those things that we are pointing out, it's in line with the grape variety. It's common of the grape variety. Okay, so how about the intensity? I think there is medium to medium plus intensity on this wine. I think medium plus is where we should be. If you say, well, I think that is pronounced intensity, I agree with you because we have a very good punch of fruit. However, the finish is not that long. And I don't think by the finishing, which I think is medium, and the depth of the fruit, I don't think it's a wine made for aging. I don't think it's a wine that the producer made in a way that you should put in your adega for like 10 years. Why? Because there is some freshness to the fruit. And the most attractive thing of this wine is the freshness on the palate. It's not the tannin, definitely not. It's not the complexity from the oak. That's not the attractive thing that you can find on the wine. So it's definitely, it's not the texture, because the texture is a bit astringent on this wine. So it's more about the fruitiness, the youthfulness of the wine. Can it age? Maybe it can age. Maybe it can hold in bottle. Maybe it can improve 2-3 years. But it's not a wine that was made to be drunk within 5-10 years. That's the whole point. Because when a producer makes a wine that intends for aging, like a many Grand Cru Classés in Bordeaux and in Burgundy, when you taste young, it's quite austere. It's quite difficult to see any pleasure because it's very austere. And this wine, which is 2018, it's not austere at all. I mean, there's very good fruit, very good aromas. The austerity is coming from uncontrolled tannins. That's the whole point. So the quality of this wine, is it good? It's better than good. I think it's a decent wine. So I would say it's, very good. Is it outstanding? No, the tannins are not there. The layers of flavors is just not there. There's not much of a complexity. So I think it's a very good wine. I think it's well made. I think it's got very good aromas. It's not unilateral and it's not angular. Maybe the angularity would be the tannins, but hey, there's other good and positive things about this wine. The euphenous, the freshness, the fruit. But I would dare to say on the examination, drink now, not suitable for aging. Why? I would say the purity of the fruit, it's telling me, which is very exciting, the purity of the fruit on the nose and the purity of the fruit on the mid palate. It's one of the most impressive things about this wine. Losing it for tertiary aromas could be a drawback in a sense of there is no much depth of fruit and the finish is not that long to allow this wine for further aging. Okay, although the tannins would gain in terms of polymerization, but the concentration and the flavors would suffer, and therefore within a few years the wine would not deliver the same the same quality. It would not deliver the same freshness. So if I was to argue drink now or aging, I would say drink now, because that's the best. It's a good moment to enjoy this wine. Obviously, maybe drinking the whole bottle on its own is not fun, but if you have some food, if you're in a restaurant, if you're in a tapas bar, hey, it's a good Cabernet Sauvignon. And then how the wine was made. I did not go on the technical shit, because if I do that, then I would be putting myself in a position where I may not be able to trust my palate. And you, as a diploma student, you need to learn your palate and trust your palate. And as I was wrong on the previous tasting, the Pinot Noir, that I thought that the wine was had seen some oak aging and not came from granitic soils. What I can taste from the wine is that it has seen some oak, perhaps not brand new, perhaps not for a long period of time, like 12 months. I think it has seen less than 6 months. And I think that the wine has seen a little bit of oak, new oak, a little bit of second use, like a 10 or maybe 20% of the wine has seen new or second use. And the reason why I'm saying is that it's because of the tannins. It's because the wine is like ready to drink. And when you put a wine in a part of the wine in new oak and second oak for a short period of time, it's just to give some frame. It's just to allow the wine to develop and evolve very quickly. So when you bottle the wine, it's like ready for consumption. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why, by tasting the wine, I would say it has seen some oak a little bit. I think the vast majority of the wine has been on stainless steel in order to protect the fruit, which is the core focus of the wine. But I think it has seen some oak. Also, when you taste the wine or spill the wine, you will notice at the back of your throat there is a little bit of we could call it smokiness, toastiness, a little bit of a bitterness, like dark chocolate. And this dark chocolate is also associated with oak. Okay. Then there is another thing. We could be talking about chips. We could be talking about staves into the stainless steel vat. But if they were to put those flavors to the vat, those those chips to the vat, you would realize that the oak is not integrated, and we actually don't feel much of oak. It's more of a sensation than actually flavors. So if you add a little bit of chips to the wine, you need to be very clever to have what we call it micro-oxygenation attached to the vat, because the micro-oxygenation, very fine bubbles, would allow the wine to breathe, to have this sort of oxygen dissolved to the wine for the wine to evolve, and somehow try to absorb it, the oakness or the oak flavors, the oak chips to the wine. There is nothing wrong to use chips or staves as long as you know how to extract it and add to the wine. But again, we are not discussing how the wine was made, but it's an idea to try to understand what sort of quality of fruit we have there. Understand that if you have a very good quality fruit, you are going to make a Gran Reserva Rioja. If you have a good fruit, you make a Reserva Rioja. If you have a not so good fruit, maybe you do a Crianza. If the fruit is just not there, you'll be making a Hoble, Hoven. So once you understand the quality that you can gain, that you can extract from the fruit, you will understand, you will decide whether it's going from brand new oak, second use, third use, 10%, 20%. If you're using what sort of techniques you are going to use in order to make a great wine. Great wine compatible with its price, okay? So it's important for you to have that in mind. Good wine, good barrel, good fruit. Not using good barrel, what's the reason? So that's one of the points. Guys, we have about 10 minutes to go, sort of thing, 40 minutes sort of to go. Do you guys have questions? And what sort of questions do you have? That's a very important moment for us to discuss. What should be clear for you is that the style of the fruit, the jamminess, the intensity of the fruit should be telling you I'm coming from a sort of a warm climate. Not hot, but warm climate with some cooling influences. Could be altitude, could be river, could be fog. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the ripeness is telling you I was made to drink young, to be drunk young. The tannins is telling you, okay, so that's the best it could do. Again, it's not going to get better. The tannins are just not there. So, and you should understand that the quality of the fruit, the flavors that we got, the intensity, again, it's not. I'm not gaining anything from holding 5 to 10 years on this wine, when compared to a very good, outstanding Bordeaux second Cru Classé, for example.
I have one question. Considering that it's, I had put good wine, okay? Because I considered it has a medium body. It doesn't have a long finish. It's simple for me because you just have for a primary fruit, a little bit of secondary, but it's simple. I would consider a good wine inexpensive. And you said that it would be a very good wine.
Okay.
If it's simple, if it's not complex, why would I put very good?
Very good question.
Let me just, can I compliment on her question?
I think this wine reminded me of the one, different structure, tannins, but in terms of quality, it reminded me of the wine we had last week. And last week, you said it was a good wine. So I agree with her. I think, to me, this is a good wine,
sure.
Not a very good wine.
Okay, sure. Those are very important points that you guys made it. It's all about how you argue. Why do I think it's a very good wine? First, I think it's not unidimensional aroma. I don't think it's just one aroma. I think we have several aromas. They are in line with Cabernet Sauvignon. So that's the first thing. It's part of the varietal expression. Second, I think there is a very good integration with acidity, with body, with alcohol, with fruit. So there is a different flavors on the mouthfeel. It's not full body, but it's not cloying. It's not heavy. Although it's coming from a warm climate that we can feel, but the alcohol is quite restrained. So that's another positive thing about it. Also, I think the tannins are down. It lets me down a little bit. It's not the high point of this wine, but the fruit is about the high point. And one of the reasons, another reason why I think it's a very good wine is because it was made to drink young. They made the best to drink young. It has a varietal character or varietal expression. And I think it has different flavors, different aromas within the varietal expression, not unidimensional sort of thing. When compared to the previous wine that we had last week, I don't think it was as broad in terms of aromas and as broad in terms of flavors. And then also, I thought that wine was way simpler than it is this wine, because it have a very good impact on your palate. When you taste the wine, you see different flavors, and you have a very good freshness to the palate. I don't think the intensity it's very big. We said medium intensity sort of thing, medium plus, I think, intensity. But it's not layered. But when compared to the previous wine, I think that wine was much simpler. I think this wine has a little bit more intensity, will please a lot more people. And I think that this wine, when you think on price, that wine was about 140, 180 reais. That's below 100. So I think it delivers way more for price quality as opposed to the previous wine. So there's another reason why to think why this is a much better wine. Okay, on the blind tasting at the exam, you actually don't know how the wines costs. But like for like, I think it delivers more. And thinking that it's coming from a warm climate or sort of warmish, I think it's well controlled. I mean, the alcohol it's well integrated. It's not kicking out. I think the fruit is there. I think it's just about the fact that there is no brand new oak. And the fact that they're not using brand new oak is the reason why it makes this wine more complex or more fun, because the oak is not intrusive. It's just giving you a frame in terms of a briefing, making the wine micro-oxygenate, and also helping the wine to express itself, its youthfulness, quicker, as opposed to needing more time, having to wait more time for the wine for you to drink. If we run out of time, I open a new session and I put on a WhatsApp group. Okay. Do you guys agree with my explanation why I would place this wine as very good? Does it make sense?
Thiago, if we consider what the same criteria that we had basically in the level 3, I remember that we had 4 dimensions, right? First one was equilibrium, balance. The second one was complexity, persistence, and intensity. Those are the 4 ones. And I remember also that we a good reference was, if none of the dimensions are good, then you should consider that as not acceptable. If one of those 4 dimensions is good, it's acceptable. If 2 of those dimensions are good, then it's good, and so on, right? I mean, if we take that, yeah, if we take
Guys, we are running out of time. It's below 1 minute.
It's gone.
but not a very good complexity, but good complexity, I agree that we have, because you have at least 2 layers of aromas in the wine. Intensity is reasonable. I mean, complexity is not simple, but it's not also very complex, right? I mean, so if when you take all those, persistence is, I mean, is medium as well. It's very difficult to see. I agree with you that if you know how much it costs, then you could add some additional, let's say, grade to that analysis, right? I need an additional weight to that analysis. But in a blind tasting, you don't know how much it's gonna cost, right?
Yeah.
In the style clearly, because you don't have much concentration of fruit, you don't have much body of that. I mean, the style indicates to you that is a entry level or mid-priced wine at most. Right?
Yeah,
it should
more
not
than,
be more than that.
yeah, more than entry level. Yeah.
Yeah. But should be, for me, it should be an entry level, or because of the little complexity, maybe a mid-priced wine, right? But to consider that as very good, I mean, except for the price, the cost-benefit analysis, what other element do you think that is key to consider that a very